This is the question you get asked all the time. I'm sure you already know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's two. What is your stretching routine?
Okay. My stretching routine. So basically, they're very simple stretches, and a lot of people who read the book, they believe that I got this routine from this guy named Joe. Joe turned me on to stretching. I had to make up a stretching routine that fit my lifestyle and fit my tightness. So I do simple, very simple quad stretch. So you know how people sit down and they pray. I believe Muslims pray a lot on their knees and their heels and their butt touch. My heels were off my butt by probably about this much when I first started. So I sit in that for about 20 minutes at a time. And when I get to about, a pain level of 6, 7, I come out of it. So, but I make sure to do it 20 minutes, not straight, but 20 minutes in the stretch. That's one of them. Another one is a very simple Indian stretch where most kids, most grown-ups can just sit Indian style across their legs. My damn knees were like this. So I had to get my back up against the wall, and it took me years to even get to the point where I can get my knees out. So I do a lot of psoas stretching. Everything I do is very basic, opening up my hips. But what I found out, though, is opening up my quads. My quads were so damn tight that caused a whole bunch of stuff to be off. So once my quads opened up, a lot of other things opened up also.
I'm here right now. After I leave here, I'm going to go home and stretch out for 2 hours.
Okay.
I stretch for 2 hours. I've done this, and that's in my book also. The last chapter, I talk about it. I got real sick, long story short. Stretching out has really helped out my psoas muscle.
Okay.
That psoas muscle attaches to your T12. There's a lot of nerve endings going through there.
What's the psoas muscle? Where is that?
It's your hip flexors.
Oh.
So all of us who sit down like I'm sitting down right now,
right.
Whenever you're in that fight or flight mode, let's say you're driving your car and the car's coming to hit you, you get that tense. So my childhood all the way up till now, it's been this squeezing. So about 6 years ago, I got to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. The docs couldn't figure anything out, nothing out with me. And I had this huge lump on the back of my head from my spine being compressed. I had these huge lumps on my hip flexor muscle, psoas area.
Right.
And it's the only muscle that attaches your lower body to your upper body.
Okay.
And I just slowly started stretching out. I said, I'm going to probably die. The docs couldn't figure it out. I was slowly dying. It was literally collapsing. Like there was no blood flow to organs of my body from all the stress in my entire life. Started stretching out. I was on all these medications. 6 years later,
no meds.
I'm on one medication.
Really?
And I was on about 17, 18 medications.
Wow. So the 2 hours of stretching continues to help the body.
The mind also.
The mind.
So that
as you're quiet, nothing else going on.
That's right. But what happens is when your psoas is so tight, it sends all these different hormones to your mind, making you extremely stressed. Mm-hmm. And so by stretching out, it releases that muscle. So when that is tight, even you can be relaxed. That muscle being tight is tricking your mind, saying we're in a stressful situation.
Interesting.
Firing you up, firing your mind up.
Would you tell people who struggle with anxiety to give that a shot?
People who are having any kind of surgery on their knees, hips, back, neck, shoulders, if you don't have full range of motion, and I'm telling you right now, I have so much I could talk about this.
Right.
You need to, first of all, get full range of motion before you let somebody cut on you.
Gotcha.
If you're dealing with anxiety, any kind of issues like that, a lot of it has to do with your muscles in your body being tight. I couldn't sit down here for a minute with you 6 years ago.
Right.
I had trouble sleeping for 7, 8 years. I'm talking about sleeping for 2 hours a night.
Wow.
Was it. Because of all this adrenaline going through my body.
And when you start in this hip, because you know how many people are dealing with anxiety?
Tons.
I mean, they're on medication.
100%.
And what you're saying is you start with those hip flexors.
You start with your quads. Because your quads are so big, they get so tight.
Okay.
And once they get tight, they start pulling on everything else.
Okay.
So open your quads up first. At least that's what I did. And then work on those hips. You got to open those hips up. You have to open up that hip flexor muscle. And then you want to release that back. Because a lot of people have back problems.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just that psoas muscle literally just pulling.
Yes, pulling the back muscle
Pulling that back muscle down.
Wow.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
There's so much, but I figured this out literally by saying I can't run, I can't go to the gym.
Right.
I'm sitting here dying.
Right.
I'm real tight. Just let me start stretching. So I shave my head almost every day.
Right.
As I was shaving my head, I started realizing this bump was going down.
Interesting.
And the more the bump went down the back of my head and on my hip flexors, the more I started feeling better. I go, there can't be a correlation here. There was 100% correlation.
enough. Wow.
Now, this isn't any doctor.
Yeah, no.
No
I
doctor.
get
This
it.
is all me.
Sure.
I don't know if it's true or not. I know for me,
Right.
it changed my entire life.
Wow. Well, just something. It's very interesting. The little nugget there for you leaders out there.
Because I talked to him before this. I was like, what should I ask David that's not obvious? And he's like, ask him about how he stretches for 4 hours a day. Is that true?
It is. I actually, so I have a I still have a multitude of health issues.
Right. We didn't even, like, I'm just being conscious of the time, but like we didn't even talk about the fact that like in 2010 you had this crazy heart thing, right? Like I remember because you were killing it in racing and then you just had to stop, right? And it wasn't until you came back in like 2013, but there was like a period there where you were off the radar.
Huge period. I was extremely sick. I'm still sick now. So everything I talked about in my life, it comes at a price. It comes at a huge price. When you will yourself, so when you don't have ability and all you have is will, something's going to give. And what gives is your internal system. So my adrenals are shot. So your adrenals are your fight or flight. Like I discussed, I was scared of everything I ever did in my life, and I had to find something much deeper than myself to pull out, to turn myself inside out. And how I did it was I used a lot of my adrenals. And I had to find this to get through all this pain and suffering and fear. And basically, my adrenals have shut down, all this. And everybody just say, God, is it even worth it? Sure is, people. Sure is. Because that is my trophy, not the sickness. I knew what I was doing to myself when I was doing it. I found what I wanted to do, but now I'm getting healthier. But so I stretched out because while my hip flexors got so tight, your psoas muscle. Your psoas muscle is what tightens up when you're in a fight or flight situation. I was in a fight or flight situation all through my deployments, jumping out of airplanes, being in scary situations, doing things I hated doing was my whole life pretty much. That psoas muscle got so tight, it started pulling on my T12.
Right.
Collapsed my spine. You have a bunch of nerve endings going through there. I can go all day talking about this. I got severely, very sick. So basically what I did was I started this crazy stretch routine. And I literally have healed myself through the discipline I had. And what people won't believe is I got to a point where I stretched out for 8 to 12 hours a day. And it went
So essentially, like most of your waking hours when you're not working out.
stretching.
Yeah.
And it went from that to 6 hours a day. Then from 6 hours a day to 4 hours a day. The more I would open up. So the hips
And
are your soul.
is there like a specific routine of stretches that you would go through, or
I would
just
sit and stretch a whole big routine, a whole mess of like opening up your abductors because your abductors are attached to your hips, your hip flexors, everything is attached at this region here, your midsection, your hips. And my hips got so tight that I couldn't even squat down. I had so much back pain. So that's why another reason why I started running. Running, you stay upright. I couldn't squat anymore. I couldn't do any of that powerlifting stuff. So the only thing I could do is run. Running didn't bother me too bad. And it got to the point where I couldn't run either. And my health got real poor because my spine was collapsed. And I got real sick. And basically I healed myself because no doctor can find out what's wrong with me. So I couldn't run a lot. I couldn't do any activities. So I said, you know what, I'm going to bury myself in stretching. And what happened was I had this huge knot on the back of my head. The knot came from my spine collapsing and getting tighter and tighter and tighter. It developed fluid or whatever. Long story short, as I started stretching out, that bump started going away. And the smaller the bump got, the healthier I got. And I was like, what in the world is going on? So I shave every day, so I would feel this bump. And the bump, and you can see it right now.
Yeah. No, I can see it. Yeah.
Most people think everybody's a bump in the back of the head. My bump was like this big. It was huge. And the more I stretched, the more it went away. The more it went away, the healthier I got. And I was like, man, so I'd be like, I'm going to keep on stretching. So my stretching became, it was crazy. And I got healthier. And I was like, my God. So I stretched more and more and more. And now I've been doing it now for 3 years. I haven't missed a day of stretching in 3 years.
Wow. So now is it literally like, are you still at the 4 hour mark of stretching?
I'm now at like the 2 hour mark, but what's funny about it, I went from, so I won a race called Strolling Gym. It's a 41-mile race in Tennessee. I averaged about 7-minute miles for 41 miles back in the back country, all the up and down hills. I could never even do that. Yeah, I've run marathons pretty fast, but my average training pace was at 8:30, 8:40. After I stretched out my hips, my average running pace now is between 7:15 and 7:30.
Wow.
And that's just because that's how crazy tight I was. So if I want to get back into ultra running right now and really compete at a high level, for me, I would run races a minute and a half faster per mile.
That's crazy.
And that's what I do now. So I did Strolling Gym a few years ago before I started stretching. I did it in 5:30 something, which is a good time. I did it this past year, in 4:50 something.
Wow. And you're probably not training near the volume that you used to, right?
No way.
That's so interesting. I mean, there's this whole other, camp sort of philosophy, especially in running, that's like anti-stretching.
They're
right?
out of
Like
their minds, man.
You shouldn't stretch.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
That's why I never stretched. I was like, man, because you lose those fibers. You're an idiot. I would stretch out for 8 hours in a day. And yeah, it takes a while for your body to get used to it, but most of us are sitting most of the time. When you sit, you're tightening up that hip flexor muscle, that psoas muscle. That's one of the most important muscles in your stride, to get that long stride. Half of our strides have shrunk by inches. Your stride is how you run. And when I started stretching, I was like, my God, man, I'm clipping at a 7:30, 7:15 at the same heart rate.
Your stride's not restricted anymore.
Not restricted as much as it was. So I've gained a minute per mile.
That's super interesting.
Just by stretching. So people say shit because they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They don't even know. So get knowledgeable before you. I've read it. I listened to it. So I didn't stretch. It's the dumbest thing on the planet. And people talk about, don't hold a stretch longer than 30 seconds or 15, whatever the hell shit is. I'll be in a stretch for 30, 40 minutes. Come in it, go out of it. Go in it, go out of it. Go in it, go out of it. Don't believe everything you hear. Figure out yourself. My organs were pretty much shutting down. And I went from a guy who could run 205 miles to a guy who couldn't get out of bed. And the doctors were trying to search what was wrong. That's why I figured out the psoas muscle. No one figured it out. And I hit it by accident. So I've missed 2 days of stretching out in 5 years. And so what happened was all the shit I did to myself, the stress I was under, physical, mental, all kind of shit, it just choked me out from the inside. And doctors put me on all kind of medication. And the medication started doing the exact opposite of
Like what kind of shit?
I was on DHEA. I was on some different things for my estrogen, different things for my, I was on anything to do with your, with your endocrine system. Thyroid medicine. Good God, I was on cortisol, all kind of shit to get my stuff. I had like this lump in my throat from like the heart was always, I couldn't run down the street. My body was just jacked up. Couldn't sleep. My whole body was just down, shutting down. I could give you a lot more than that, but just to give you an example, I was fucking dying. And so I couldn't do anything. I went from a guy who was this guy to a guy who can't do shit. And doctor's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, man. You know, your labs are this. Is it PTSD? Is it what's going on? I knew it wasn't any of that shit. So I sat in the bed one day and I realized, man, my life is over. This is it. But it gave me time to reflect on everything I had accomplished. Because I'd never taken time to reflect on the kid I was to the man I am now. So honestly, the time I wasn't working out, it was the best time of my life because I got a chance to really reflect back and be proud of who I became. 'Cause I never took time to do that. It was like one after another. Get the fuck after it. Get after it. Get after it. You ain't good enough, motherfucker. Get after it. Get after it. And I got halted. So anyway, this process went on for a while. More medication. This isn't working. That's not working. No doctor can figure it out. I'm like, fuck it. I saw this doc about 8 years before this happened. And he was like, hey, man, you're so fucking tight. I've never seen anybody in my life as tight as you. You need 50,000 hours of stretching. He threw out some crazy number. I was like, whatever. Stretching, stretching's bad for you. So
You thought stretching was bad for you?
yeah, stretching's bad for you, man.
Why'd you think that?
I read some article, man, fuck stretching, man. I worked out so hard, I didn't have time to stretch, man. I was running 150 miles a week. I was biking to work, man. I was getting after it, man. I was working a full-time job. and stretching and doing that. So my body was literally getting tighter and tighter, not just from what I was doing. Everybody thinks, oh, because you ran this. No, it wasn't that, man. And so I said, no, I'm going to try and stretch out. So I don't do anything for like 10 minutes or, I don't do no 6-minute ab bullshit. So I started stretching out 1 hour, hour and a half. Long story short, man, I shave my head almost every morning. And that bump that was on the back of my fucking head, I started realizing it was shrinking for some fucking reason. I don't know why, because I shaved my head back and I was like, it's getting smaller. Smaller that bump got, healthier I got. Smaller that bump got, I was like, oh, hold up, motherfucker. What's going on? That psoas muscle started getting more and more stretched out, more and more relaxed. And over a period of 5 years, I'm in the best shape of my damn life right now from stretching out.
Wow.
That's all it was. I went from I can't even count the medications I was on. Now I'm on a very low dose thyroid pill. All right, it is 3 o'clock in the morning, and if you see here, it says 74 minutes on there. The phone actually flips over at 100 minutes, double zeros. So I've been stretching out now for 174 minutes. And you're probably wondering why I'm stretching out so late. Had to do a 10-mile run. Had to go to the gym. I'm writing my book, which is taking me a long time. Had about 600 emails and different posts. I had to respond to different comments. And if I went to sleep right now, it would haunt me. It would bother me that I missed my stretch. So life's about sacrifice. Life's about having self-discipline. Life's about focus, all those things. And there's 24 hours in a day. Make it work to your advantage. And yes, I do get plenty of sleep, but life is all about sacrifice to achieve what you want.
This is a normal day.
Normal day for me, a normal day. So let's say a light day.
Light day.
Light day is at least a 7-mile run. I will every other day, so about 4 days a week, calisthenics plus gym workout. So I don't do any gym workout without hitting pull-ups, push-ups. I call it nickels and dimes. So like 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, or I'll go, quarters and whatever, like 25 pull-ups or in like 50 push-ups. So I have all these different things I mess up. So I will do weights with calisthenics, and every single night I stretch. For at least every night I stretch for at least 2 hours.
2 hours?
Every night. Every night.
So you stretch after you're done working out?
Yeah, so at nighttime, usually I'll be either in a quiet room or I'll be watching TV or I love sports. Be watching the game and I'm on the floor, man. And that's what I do.
So you just stretch while you're doing stuff?
I stretch while I do stuff.
2 hours is a long ass time to stretch. Is this just because you're trying to correct
I'm trying to correct
years of not doing that?
No, years of this.
Do you ever fuck with yoga?
A lot.
Yeah?
Yoga's the shit.
What do you do? Hot yoga?
I have my own yoga. Mm-hmm. So I kind of invented my own little yoga for what my body needs. I've done hot yoga several times. Yoga's huge. Yoga's huge. Like holding those positions. And I'm big in holding them for a long period of time. So that's where my stretching is. Like people say, don't hold stretches for a long time. I hold them for a long period of time. 'Cause I'm trying to get full range of motion. A lot of people go on for like my shoulder's all messed up. I get surgery on it. Nah. If you don't have full range of motion in your body, don't go in and get cut on, man, until you know that your body is actually opened up. We start to get knuckle dragger syndrome from doing all these push-ups. You never work your back, like your rear delts. So here you are, you start hunching over before you know it, your joints are out of whack. You need to get full range of motion before you know how fucked up you truly are. So I'm always working on full range of motion like a kid. They run so effortlessly. They're always in full range of motion. As you get older and tighter and sit and more stressed, your body starts to get more and more tight. Therefore, your shoulders start to get out of balance and out of joint and out of socket. Therefore, it's popping.
Yeah.
It's popping because you're fucking tight. Open it up first. Open it up. Can you touch your hands behind each other and raise them up behind you? It's all these different ranges of motion that I got real smart on from a guy, and I took it to another level.
So do you work with a trainer, or do you always work out by yourself?
Everything I do, I've never had a trainer in my entire life. Really? Never. Not one time.
Do you read about physiology or exercise science or anything like that?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
But what about like when they learn new shit about new ways to, enhance shoulder stability or new exercises? You're not interested?
Nope. I don't I don't do it for that reason.
What do you do it
still,
for?
Still to this day, man. Still this day. To this day, it is for me to become better mentally. How I look has just become I have thousands, hundreds of thousands of miles on this body, running, pull-ups, push-ups, swimming, whatever you want to call it. This body is what it is now. It's from repetition. It's not from studying, hey, if you hold your plank for this long, fuck all that bullshit. I don't care about it. I just do it for my mind.
Right.
I want to continue to harden because that's the only thing I want. That's what I want. I want to have that mind ready for life.
But you also want to increase your range of motion. Like
Oh,
you
yeah,
said before.
range of motion's
You want to
huge.
make sure that you're not causing any additional injuries. Wouldn't you want to stabilize some areas that maybe you feel like you might have weaknesses and find out new techniques to do that?
Have you seen me with my shirt off?
No.
Yeah. It's stable as fuck.